Good morning. We've been talking for a few days now about unity because the text talks about it. We read on our previous thought for the day. So if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind. We need to keep going through verse 2, comma, having the same love, comma, being in full accord and of one mind. How do you do that? Let's understand that the call of Paul here to the Philippians is not that they're always going to agree on every single thing. To be of the same mind as someone doesn't mean that they can finish my sentences. It doesn't mean that we have all the same political leanings. It doesn't mean that we have all the same X'd off in every little theological area or nuance, or that we have all the same philosophical ideas. It doesn't mean that. So what does it mean to have the same mind? What would it mean to have the same love? Certainly we wouldn't necessarily act in all the same ways toward one another. There's texturized love. There's ways that some people love one person and another loves them a different way. It's not greater than, less than, it's different. Being in full accord and of one mind. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you have what he'll talk about as the mind of Christ in you, then that becomes your rallying point. That becomes your center point. It's not that I have a mind and you have a mind and now somehow we're in full agreement. It's rather that I look to Christ to how to love well. I look to Christ of how I ought to think about issues in general. I look to Christ for how he would want me to approach the Father. I look to Christ for how he'd want me to handle politics and complex issues. I look to Christ for how I should perceive myself. You will look to Christ to see how you perceive yourself. And then lo and behold, what happens? Well, all of a sudden now we're participating in Christ together. To go back to verse 1, we're participating in the Spirit. Like, it's the same Spirit in that way. It's the same God. It's the same Christ. It's the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And as we have that life together, well, then we're on a page, right? So we talked about in the previous thought for the day, the molecular parts of that I am individually having encouragement in Christ and comfort from love and fellowship of the Spirit and affection and feeling what others are feeling, right? I'm connected here and I'm connected here. And so we have unity in that context. It's kind of a double down emphasis. Instead of focusing on what I'm supposed to do, what I should do is gravitate toward Christ. And in that way, we get on the same page. We get on the same page. We can then be in full accord. Not because we're in agreement on everything, but because we understand what matters and we lean into those things because we are concerned with texturizing our life, our ethic, the fabric of who we are with Jesus. More about this to come. But to be on the same page or to have the same mind isn't full agreement in everything. It is recognizing where the epicenter of our relational and constituted unity rests, namely around Jesus. That's what makes us the church. May the Lord bless you today.